Yo, 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 what's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to yet again another fantastic indie creator interview. It is your Capes Crusader, Cody, and we are keeping it geekly with our brand new friend, Viatrix. We're here to break down stray memory and everything in between. Welcome to the stream. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine. I said previously, but it's quite hot today. Yeah.
So, we have Viatrix coming in from Brazil. So, what time is it over there? It seems like I think we might be similar time zones.
Well, it's 1 p.m. right now.
Okay, so you're an hour ahead. You're living in the future. Not too bad. Not too bad. So we were talking a little bit beforehand about just your history as a creator. You've been a part of over 200 stories. That is remarkable. Holy crap. Can you give us a little bit about who you are and how you got into writing stories?
Well, I'm from Brazil, São Paulo, and I always loved the stories when I was a kid. I was friends. I was friend with the librarian. Is that how you say of my school? And I used to stay there all the lunch breaks, and I started creating stories when I was really young. So I don't know properly when I started. My grandma found a scroll of paper where I told a story about a duck, and it's huge. I was really impressed. I told a very long story that didn't make sense, of course, but it was quite long. And I kept creating just in my mind, but I was never brave enough to try to write it or draw it, since it's that stuff. It's not a real job and anything. And when I was graduating in biology, I'm a scientist too, and I started being a dungeon master in RPGs.
Oh, that is really cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, and when my friends told me, "Oh, your story is awesome," and they wanted to know more about the world I created for so many years, because I have like 2 universes. I have one with 200 stories, more or less, and I have another one that is fantastic universe that I didn't draw much of it, but it has like 50 races and cultures and things like that, and I use it for my RPG. And when I heard that, I thought, well, so there are people that would like to hear or to know what I do, and that was really important moment for me. And after that, I just got so conflicted, because I really wanted to create comics, but I thought I wouldn't be able to do it for many reasons. And Stray Memory, that is my current comic, is one of my oldest stories that I still remember.
Okay. Yeah, if I remember correctly, this is something that you wrote 11 years ago, I think it said at the bottom of chapter 1.
In high school, yeah.
That's awesome.
Stray Memory was a story that I was very fond of, and it took me a lot of courage to draw Runa for the first time. So I decided that if I was going to face my fears and all that, I had to start with the one I was more passionate about. Passionate about.
Passionate. Yeah, you were close. You were close. Yeah.
Yeah, I try. So that was the path I took. I did 1 year course of comics for comic creators, and learn a lot of things. And the first chapter went out after I started this course, and I published with my colleagues, classmates, a book of small stories, of 5-page stories, but it's in Portuguese, so unfortunately I can't just ask for my friends to buy it, since I decided that I would interact with international websites and things like that. But I did this book too, but I don't have many stories that I already drew, but I have a lot of files with many stories that I hope I can publish somehow one day.
No, that is awesome. I mean, being, creating the stories for tabletop RPGs and just creating stories on your own, that's so awesome. How do you come up with so much without like losing that creative flow, like losing your ability to tell different stories?
I don't know. I create stories very easily, I think. I used to play with my younger sister of telling her stories. I remember that just now. So I can't create stories on spot. How great they will be, it's another question, but I can't. I create a lot, and I guess I created all those years even more, especially because I couldn't share. So I just kept imagining more and more things that I found cool, and also I'm kind of obsessed with stories of any kind. When I was choosing what major I should go for, in the end I realized that all my options by some I saw stories on the majors I was considering. Even biology, I work with animal behavior, and I think that animals, when you study animal behavior, you're trying to see the story that of the world in the eyes of animals. And so I everything I do is story by some mean. And so I don't know how or why I create so much. It's just how things work for me, I guess.
I like how you put your point of view into it, like your mindset with writing these stories. That's really awesome, and that's really, I think that's really unique. And it's just there's so much story there to tell. It seems like you have so much more that you want to tell too.
Yes. One of the things sometimes makes me lose sleep is I probably won't have years of life enough to tell everything I want to tell. There was one day I kind of estimate the time I would need to write my favorite stories, that I like 50, and I realized it was impossible. I wouldn't be I wouldn't be alive until the end. So one of the things I want to do, if in the future, if I can, I don't know how I will make it happen, but I want to be the writer and not the artist of everything I do, so I can run simultaneous projects at the same time, so I can draw, I can tell or share the maximum number of stories I can before I die. Something like that.
We have my good friend CM Holy over on Twitch stopping in to say, keeping it geekly, best indie show in all of the internet land. I gotta agree. I might be a little bit biased, but I gotta agree. Welcome to the show, CM Holy. We're here with Viatrix. We're learning more about straight memory, but before we dive into that, I am curious about your process, like the way you go about writing stories. Like, what do you draw your influences from?
Well, it's obvious that I have a lot of influence of manga. I think I read something close to. I can even check it. But if I'm not wrong, I read like 2,000 chapters of manga until today. And when I I saw that, I thought, God, I'm really insane. I can't be normal. And the My Animalist website, they do the statistics of what you read and watch, and then that was when I thought, okay, I'm kind of crazy. But I have a lot of influence from that, and after studying that comic course that I mentioned, it opened a bit more my views of another comics from another places and countries, and Webtoon did that to me too. I started reading comics of people from all the world, and I realized that I could have there's other I forgot it.
Are you talking about reach different parts of the world?
Yeah, but no, I was thinking about the styles and the techniques. I remembered. Yeah, so different comic traditions from different countries have different techniques to show different things, and I love studying. So I started reading comics and mangas, looking for techniques and styles, how did they convey things. So I think my influences are mostly manga, and after that it's like a mix of everything I read in my life, including books. And but I think I can mention that when I was a kid, I read a lot of books from realism. I don't know if in other languages you call the movement of literature that, but in Portuguese we call realism, and it's like kind of pessimistic way to see the society, and it's very deep regarding characters, and I really like that. But I like every genre that I can find, but I think I tend towards to tell very deep characters. It's the thing I love the most. I guess it's a difficult question, that one.
Oh, no, you're good. You're good. You're okay. And a big thing too for anyone listening, we're working through a little bit. English isn't Viatrix's first language, so some of the words we might have to figure out a little bit of a bridge, and that's not a problem. That's not a problem, and that's okay. Speaking of that, was it hard working through the language barriers to learn these different techniques and different cultures, and how different like artists and creators like created their comics?
Well, I'm kind of lucky. So I study English from a young age. You can see I'm not proficient, but it's quite easily for me to understand what people say or write. So Reading was never a problem, but writing sometimes I keep making mistakes. I wish I had some I don't know, some reader that just DM me, send me a private message like that word we don't use because I can learn how to understand and speak things, but that's completely different of how people sound natural or not. So I can write something that feels very stiff, and I worry about that, but I don't know if there's much I can do to um, to write more naturally.
I mean, I will say, I think your English is amazing. I think your English is awesome. I can't speak a second language. I can maybe say like 3 words. So the fact that you're able to do a whole interview in a different language, that is impressive. That is good. We have a calculus over on YouTube stopping in to say heyo. We have Lee Newman. It's fascinating that you researched global styles of comics. I haven't considered that. It's genius. Yeah, I think it's really cool how you pulled and looked at different comics from around the globe. Like that's awesome, and it just shows how dedicated to this craft that you really are. I'm really curious though about Stray Memory. You know, can you give us a little bit more about what that story is about?
Well, I joke a lot about my synopsis. I don't know if
Yep. You got it.
Yeah. Because I just can't say I can't say almost anything about Stray Memory without giving spoilers. So I struggled a lot of how I would convince people to read something that you don't understand what the main lead is doing. So, but I wanted to tell a story about something that I fought a lot when I was a teenager, and the main topic that I was thinking about when I was 15, I won't tell you. But I can say that my story is about a girl that changes schools, and she is very friendly and very perceptive. So she kind of conquered everyone in class bit by bit, but it's very fast because my first chapters is a few days. I think 3 or 4 will be the first 2 volumes. But my volumes are very small, so 12 chapters more or less. And I think the key of my story is that even if she's friendly and all, she's kind of weird. She's suspicious, and one thing I love the most is seeing people my readers being very freaked out by how she acts and how she smiles and things like that. What she intends were I just can't say much more than that.
Yeah, you're fine.
I need people to trust me.
So I mean, it seems like so you're the writer and the artist, right?
Yes.
So it seems like there's a real big emphasis on like colors too, like blue, for instance. I noticed in the first chapter, but like scrolling through the other chapters as well, it seems like blue was kind of like a significant color. What was the meaning behind that? Like, what's the symbolism behind it?
Well, I will give you small spoiler. The use of color in my comic is related to the person that is the chapter is in point of view. Like the first chapter is in point of view of Takeo, and the other ones will follow certain students. And when they see color, it's because they are feeling a certain way. So it's just a small spoiler, but I won't say what they are feeling, but you can try to find the similarities similarities of what each person is feeling when they show the color. And yes, blue is I think it's clearly symbolizing something related to Runa, of course. And I confess that I'm really a fan of narrative colors. So if I create a comic in general, the color will be something that passes a strong message.
Mm-hmm.
So be attentive to the
No, that is so awesome. I think your readers are going to have to go through this again and just like double check on those colors and see like what's pointing to what. We have Oblivia over on Twitch hyping up the chat as well. Let's go ahead. Speaking of Stray Memory, we have the opportunity to look at chapter 1. So let's go ahead and pull it up, go through it together. And then what we'll do is put the link right here so you guys could check it out with us. How many chapters do you have on Global Comics right now?
I think 8. It's the same number of chapters that I have in another site. So it's what I have out right now.
So
I release one by month. I'm slow. I draw very slowly.
Hey, one per month though, that's not bad. I mean, there's people out there who take multiple months. So the fact that you're writing and drawing, you know, I'm sure it's a heavy workload.
It is. I won't lie.
So we begin, I really liked how you started this. Life is like a thread, and then we have this thread like moving throughout the panels. What was some of your inspirations for starting out this way? I thought this was a really unique way to start it out.
Well, I wanted to make my first chapter very scrolling friendly. I saw some comics that used that resource a lot, how to pull an image and it may keep a flow. So I thought, well, my story, my project, the Nest of Tales, have a very strong image with threads, and so I will use threads to make scrolling interesting, and I will tangle several as you go. So you can get this idea that the more you live, the more tangled you are with anyone you see.
I really like how deep this is. Like, it just, like, you know, scrolling through it the first time when I read it, you know, I picked up on a lot of the meaning and the symbolism, but hearing you kind of give us a deeper perspective on it, like your take, like what you were thinking in your head, that, man, this is some really deep stuff.
Thank you.
Was it hard to like design? Like, I feel like I would not be able to do this, like draw like threads like in a way that is scroll friendly. Did you find any of that like troublesome at all?
No. I drew the first chapter in pages before, and when I decided to redraw the threads, I thought it was much easier than giving that same impression of progressing lines, tangling, than in traditional page format. So I think it came out pretty nicely.
I like this too. Sometimes you could force them to be apart. Sometimes it just happens. Like, this is such a deep like take on just life in general, I feel. And then even if your thread snaps, you're internally binded to others too. So what's that mean to you? Like right here, this part in particular.
Well, I think my idea was that when you were born, your thread starts to travel, like say like that. And when you die, your thread snaps. So what I was thinking is that even if you die, the story that you lived with other people that may not remember you cannot be erased. So if you follow the idea that when you live, you tangle with others, and everything you see behind it's a very tangled thread. Even if some people that you knew or just saw are not alive anymore, the impact they had in your life cannot be undone. Can be changed, but not undone. And
Wow.
the paths that you take right now, it's influenced by all the people that you met profoundly, deeply, or not. So I think it's kind of that. I don't want to.
Yeah. No, that's deep. I love that. I had to ask that question because I felt there was a real deep response to it. You're part of someone's story, even if no one understands who you are. I just love how, like, you know, because it's crazy too to think about, you know, someone who might not know you has a totally different like idea of who you are, just based upon their one meeting you. So I thought that was a really interesting way to dive into the first official chapter of Stray Memory. So we're looking at Intertwine 1, The Deal. And then this is a nice introduction to, like, so those are our two main protagonists of the story, right? Ruma and the pronunciation, I can't pronounce the second name.
Takeo.
Takeo, there you go. So those are our two main characters, correct?
In the first chapter, I introduced Takeo, but Takeo is not a protagonist in my opinion. He mostly is always paying attention, so I think he would be one of the people that would remember very vividly what happened in that year that my story will cover. So. But the main lead is clearly Runa.
I gotcha. And here we see him with his phone, looking at pictures that he has taken. He always takes girls' photos when no one's looking. And it seems like these two people don't think that's an appropriate thing to do.
Yeah.
So I was gonna ask that too, because like over here, if an individual was just randomly taking pictures of girls like this, someone would probably stop and say something, you know?
Yes. Well, one thing that I kept when the idea I had when I was 15 was that that my comic would have a lot of stereotypes, and I wanted my story to have the creep. But when I was older, I thought, well, that's not so fun. I don't think it's that fun anymore. I wanted to make I have a lot of stereotypes, and I will show that people aren't the stereotypes, but I didn't think that's so. It's not that fun. So my idea here was to show that Takeo is doing something that is wrong. It's clearly wrong.
Yeah.
He isn't welcome in his class because of it, but you can also see that the photos that he took aren't sexual or anything. He has some kind of view of the world that it's not so simple, but he's really socially awkward and don't know how to make it more accepted, I guess. So I get it. Yeah, I wanted to show that my characters in general are not all perfect good people. I won't try to excuse them for their behaviors. I don't know if I use the right word, but anyway.
No, I think you did, and I think after hearing your explanation, like it was, his character was done correctly. I really like the teacher too. He kind of seems like a not so nice of a teacher, calling his students brats.
Oh yes, he's such a nice person.
And then when he sees the new student, he is taken back because she's a little bit different from everyone else in the class. Not only does she have piercing blonde hair, but she has vibrant blue eyes, which from the photo you could see even like, smaller up. But when we close in, like it's like very prominent, her eyes. Like, so you said earlier, This was a indication of the emotion that's felt. So I mean, Blue, like, is he feeling sad or something?
I won't give you clues.
Oh no, you're good. You're good. She's like, nice try. And then we noticed that she sees him taking the pictures. Yes. So she wasn't paying attention, but then she notices right away that he's right there caught red-handed with the phone, right up to his face. So this was a really interesting interaction too, and he doesn't know what to do. I love his facial expressions.
I really love facial expressions. I study a lot when I will do an angry face right now. So I open a lot of references. I want to someone really expressive. So I try a lot. I think I improved a lot in expressions in the more recent chapters, but I like the expressions of the first one.
Mm-hmm. And then, so she's not really. If anything, she gives a little smile, so she didn't freak out too bad. Which that's a good start, right? And then she gets bombarded with all these questions. So are these questions that you might have experienced? Like, are you good at English? Like questions like this? Is this stuff that you experienced?
Well, not in Brazil, but I wanted to show that her appearance played a lot of I don't know. It made a difference in what people were asking her. So people just presumed that she would be a foreigner, so she probably were good at talking English or another language. I wanted to show how people presume things just for a first glance. At a first glance, I don't know.
And then she's quickly overwhelmed. Like, give me a minute, guys. Like, chill. And right here, does everyone have light-colored eyes where you come from? So, like, where in the world does this take place at?
Well, I wanted to do a story that it takes place in Japan, but I think that's kind of silly right now. But there's nothing I can do anymore. So it would be a Japan with my freedom of imagination. Mm-hmm. So.
And then we see her come up, and she confronts him right away. Like, did you take a picture of me? Like,
yeah.
And then this was interesting though. So how about a deal? You could take as many photos as you want if you be my best friend. So this is like a dream come true for him, right? This is probably like, he's like, wow, never expected this to happen in a million years.
Yes, that would be just too great to be true. But that's the kind of thing that she does, and you can see in other chapters, she usually will say exactly what you would want to hear. So. Mm-hmm.
And then we see we see them. It seems like almost like he's falling in love. Like when you smiled, like that little indication right here. But I was looking forward to any feeling you could give me, good or bad, when you smiled. Like, I don't know. This could be the start of something big.
Could be.
I really like the deal part, too, because you said like the color had purpose. So going through this a second time, I noticed, let's strike a deal, and that was in blue, too. So there's some meaning behind that we haven't figured out yet.
Yeah. Yes.
I really like the added layers to it as well. And then we have a little bit of a like character sheet too to kind of give us a more of a bit of a breakdown on them.
Yeah. Since I have a lot of characters, I think it would be better to give a bit of insight on them, aside from the chapters, or else people just wouldn't know much about them. So.
Mm-hmm. So right there is the first chapter of Stray Memory. Let me go ahead and put this in the chat so everyone can check it out. And let's go ahead and start wrapping things up real quick. Let's go to our main camera right over here. All right, so now after checking this out, how many chapters do you have planned out right now for Stray as a whole?
I thought that I would have like 70, but I realized that I could cut some things out or put other things together. So I don't know right now how many I would have, but I think at least 50.
That's a decent amount. That is a decent amount, and I love the process. I love the work that you've been putting into this, and like we were talking about the different layers, like how when I went through this at first, I thought this might have been like the initial start to like a love interest, but like going through and you saying like the color had an actual purpose, like I went through it a second time, I'm like, okay, like what does this mean, like where you know what you know, what is this, what impact does this have? So that's really awesome. I really enjoyed going through this with you, Viatrix. Thank you so much. We have my good friend George over on YouTube. Cody, what's up, my guy? Finally call it live. Well, we appreciate you stopping in. George was actually the very first person I interviewed, and that was 160 interviews ago. So you are officially 161 today. Let's go. Very, very awesome number.
Thank you.
Appreciate this sit down so much. What's next for you? What are you working on? Is it just going to be Stray Memory, or do you have any other projects that are in the works?
Well, I thought that to gain more experience and try new things, I would like twice a year draw a short story of few pages, but mainly I will keep drawing Stray Memory, and I hope people like the drama that I will throw in their face. Yeah. And it's interesting to know that you thought that a romance was blooming in the first chapter. It's the second time I hear that. But unfortunately, romance is not the word that I will go for. It people can get in love in the story, so you can look forward to that. But the romance, it's not. It won't satisfy if you expect that.
Mm-hmm. Hey, threads can get tangled in many different ways, right?
Yes.
So before we end things completely, I always love ending the show on a strong note, excuse me, because as much as this is a platform to really promote you and your book, it's also a nice platform for anyone new who might be watching and creating comics themselves for the first time. So for anyone who might be starting for the first time, what advice would you offer them to kind of help them get started with their journey?
Well, I think if you are really passionate about the stories that you imagine and the media you want to go for is comics, take your time. Sometimes we rush a lot because we want to share so much, but comics are a lot of work, and we need time to take it in a healthy manner. And even if people in general advise you to start with something short, I think that when you were struggling, starting with the one that you love the most is what will make you keep drawing. If I did a story that I was not that passionate about, I probably would have stopped at the start, since nobody read what I was posting, and even now I have very few readers. So you have to love it a lot so you can go through all the process and take your time. I think that's the most important thing.
No, I really like that. I really like that a lot, and I think that does have a lot of weight to it. You know, if you love doing something, then that's going to carry you during your the weakest moments, like the moments where you really start to doubt yourself. Yeah. Your love is going to carry you through that. Yeah, that's so awesome. Let's give it up for. Oh, go ahead.
No, it's just since for me it was very hard to not tell stories. Is exactly for loving them that much that I didn't give up. So I don't want to give advice like something empty as just do what you love, but I think you have to aid, like you have to think a lot of what drives you, and if it is passion, then go for it.
No, that is awesome. Let's give it up for Viatrix too. This is her first interview, and it wasn't even in her native language, so that is awesome. I think you did an awesome job. Thank you so much for coming by. Everyone in chat had nothing but praise as well. This was awesome sit down. Thank you once again, everyone watching. It is a beautiful Friday out there. Be sure to check this out on Global Comics. Here is the link to check out the first couple of chapters. That being said, I hope you have an awesome day, but most importantly, keep it geekly.